The only right way to do UX is by following the design thinking process, which I learned in my boot camp. Let's talk about being dogmatic and not pragmatic, and following UX processes just a little too rigidly. Hey UX friends, let's talk about something that has been driving me bananas lately. There is an idea floating around somewhere in the ether that there is only one right way to do UX. Stop. You know who I mean. It's those folks who treat the user-centered design process like it's sacred scripture that can never be questioned or adapted. Let me tell you why this dogmatic approach is actually tanking your UX career and making you a less effective designer. Okay, first, let's talk about what I mean by being a dogmatic UX designer. Dogmatic is when designers follow every single step of a process religiously. They refuse to skip steps, even when those steps are irrelevant to the problem at hand. These are designers who cannot adapt even when circumstances change. And they are also designers who dismiss any approach because it is not following it by the book. I recently worked with an early career designer who honestly kind of freaked out when they weren't able to do UX research for what essentially amounted to a button color change. This is pretty closely aligned to the idea of pick your battles. Like, what hills are you willing to die on? And it's not every hill. Here's what kills me. People often defend this rigid approach by saying UX is a science. Okay, well, let's talk about science for a minute. Alexa, what's the scientific process?
The scientific process is how scientists learn about the natural world.
Alexa, stop. Go ahead and look it up. I'll wait. Right. It's a trial and error. Creative ideas, please. Strategic, but with an open mind kind of thing. If we start to get really pedantic and dogmatic, we've lost the design part of the UX process. The scientific method is literally built on making educated guesses, testing theories, learning from failures, adapting based on new information. Science has never been about following a rigid process. It's about being curious, testing your hypothesis, being open to discovering something new that you weren't expecting. So the alternative to this rigid process is taking what I would call the pragmatic approach to UX. This means finding the right tool for every specific problem. It's also about identifying high impact, low effort solutions. It's definitely about adapting your process to business constraints and needs. And it's about using your experience and intuition alongside data. And that's the intuition and experience you build from trying and failing and trying and succeeding and trying and failing and trying and succeeding and trying and failing and trying and succeeding and trying and almost succeeding and trying and succeeding and trying and failing. You have to do the activities in order to learn and build your intuition of, oh, I'm not sure that's going to work because I tried it 32 different ways. In practice, out in the real world, businesses do not have time for you to follow every single step of the UX process. Not the design thinking process, not the double diamond process, not the design sprint process. Okay, you get the idea. It's all about delivering the most value for the least amount of effort. This is the literal definition of don't reinvent the wheel, which is how I teach my apprentices to approach problems. We're never going to try and rebuild a wheel. Why would you chisel a wheel out of a square block? How about just use what's already available, or, whatever fits the analogy. Now we're getting away with it. I'm like, wheels, stones. Okay, stop. Do you want to know a secret? I'm hesitating to share this with you because I don't want anyone to feel like I'm a downer, but behind closed doors, there's a few things that senior designers and hiring managers say about very dogmatic UX practitioners, people who are unwilling to change from their regular processes. I'm going to read these quotes to you. Hold on. I worked with a designer like this once, and it was awful, truly awful, so defensive, so insecure, and their work was terrible. I'm happy to be baptized into the right way, TM, when someone can show me the results. Another one says, sometimes you, the designer, work at a company where there's simply not support for you to follow the process, TM, and getting overly dogmatic about how we're doing it wrong, it's just going to reflect poorly on you. And you've got to be pragmatic first and foremost. Companies want to hire designers who can think on their feet, adapt to different situations, find creative solutions, and deliver value efficiently. Remember, the perfect design process is the one that works for your specific situation. Don't be the designer who only has a hammer looking for a nail. If you want to learn more about pragmatic UX approaches that actually work in the real world, check out my workshop on getting real world UX experience and keep an eye out for my book that is getting published in just a few weeks. I promise you, I will be probably emailing you about it. I'll definitely make a video. I'll drop the link in the description for my How to Get Paid While Getting UX Experience workshop, which is coming up at the end of February. All right, I'll catch you next time. Have a fantastic day, and I'm so excited for your success.